Hi, my name is Lisa Martin. I am the mother of a child with special needs. He has Fragile X syndrome. In many respects, he has been my teacher. He has made me be a more caring, compassionate, better human being. What we have learned together on our journey, I have realised the difficulties and challenges that parents of special needs children face are wide and varied. During my years of facilitating courses for parents and professionals, I have met some wonderful people who have shared with me their stories of great joy and sadness, who have experienced the good, the bad and the ugly of all aspects of life bringing up their special children. I am passionate about empowering parents who are dedicated in helping their children with additional needs. You're invited to my podcast. I will be talking about all things in our special world of disability and additional needs. I will be interviewing other parents of children with special needs, as well as professionals and people in the community who are offering services that help. Sometimes these podcasts might touch an emotional nerve and upset you. Other times they might fill you with joy and empower you. I don't mean to make you angry or upset, but we need to get a wider audience listening and talking about disability. Only when this happens, I believe disability won't be feared as it is today. Hello, my name's Lisa Martin and I'd like to introduce Dene. And Dee's the Managing Director of Allnatt at the Isle of Wight. And Dee founded Freedom Families, which runs 3 weeks in the summer and 1 week in Easter at the moment here, for families with children with disabilities of all different abilities and disabilities. Welcome, Dee, to the Good, the Bad and the Ugly.
Nice to be here.
Brilliant. So let's talk about how this wonderful idea came about.
Well, it was a whim in the first instance that came out of the fact that my partner at the time had a granddaughter who was displaying challenging behaviour, I think is what they call it these days. Basically, when she was 4, she went to the local village school and was excluded because she wouldn't sit still in assembly. She would insist on walking around, and the head teacher thought that was bad behaviour, and she would be sent home for a while until her parents taught her how to behave properly.
And how old was she?
4.
She was only 4.
4, just going on 5, yeah.
So the head teacher just didn't have a clue.
Didn't have a clue
about different needs.
But at that time I didn't know what the term autism was. I mean, we're going back 20 years now, I think.
Right.
Yeah, about 20 years. Just above maybe. So it just wasn't anything we thought about, and I think everybody thought, the family thought it was her bad behaviour. And then she used to come and stay with us for the weekend, and we'd have a lovely weekend, and it would all be centred on around what she wanted to do. And I can remember she had the odd tantrum, well, as we called them then, but didn't think too much about it. But over time I started to notice that when I took her home on a Sunday night, the reception from her parents was not what I would have expected, really. They didn't seem to be pleased that she was back. They didn't seem to say, "Hi, how are you? Having a nice time?" It was more a case of, "Get upstairs now, go to bed." And I began to feel that was a bit odd. And just over a period of time I began to think, actually I don't think it's her. I hate to say it, but I don't think the parenting skills are there.
Sorry, Joshua. It's okay.
Okay.
We'll start again. Sorry about that, Dee.
All right. Just carry on.
We'll just carry on.
That was just Lewis welcoming and as we were
Yes,
talking.
he was.
Bless him. Right, okay, so we're saying then, so bit by bit, I began to notice us, and eventually we said we'd have her come and live with us. So she came to live with us, and just gave her what I thought were normal parenting skills of routine in the morning, get up at the same time, do things in order, have your breakfast, then get dressed, then do your teeth, and then off to school. And then I'd go to collect her from school, and but then I started to find out that she was doing funny things at school, and apparently she'd gone off and stuffed loads of toilet paper down the toilet, and just other things, you know, that they were saying, oh, you know,
Was she fascinated by water?
Oh yes, yeah, fascinated by water, but certainly was doing some very disruptive things.
Yeah, and she was a runner, wasn't she?
She was
had
a
no
runner.
sense of danger.
That's right. Yeah. And village school again, you know, and they were lovely. They really did their best, but in the end, they said we just can't cope with this.
Okay.
And so then it went into a bit of a muddle. Like, I think this is one of the things that I feel strongly about is, you know, you don't know where to go. You don't know who's going to help you, or there's no clear advice. So you get into sort of social services, doctors' appointments, and you've no clear.
There's no signposting, is there?
No. And I don't know how long it took before eventually, I don't know how many meetings, she changed school about 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah. And
she was just misunderstood, wasn't she?
Well, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And eventually we got a referral to not the Maudsley Hospital, the big hospital that specialises in London.
Yeah,
and
the Maudsley.
It is a Maudsley,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay. Got a referral there, and within half an hour, she did various other tests, and then the consultant came in, spent about half an hour with her, and immediately said, it's autism. And that was it. So we got this statement. So we then had to go home and look it up and
read about it.
Read about it and find out what it meant. Yeah.
And how did you feel when she got the diagnosis? Was it kind of
great,
all make
because
sense?
it all fitted into place then, and it all fitted into place that, as I felt, she's not a naughty girl. You know, I just kept getting frustrated that everybody kept calling, especially her parents. You know, she's just badly behaved. She won't listen. You know. Yeah. And it was like almost a relief. Well, there you go. She can't. You know, she's doing her best in this world, and all the things that I read about. Oh right, okay, that trigger. I get it. And so that's when we started bringing her over to East Dean here on the Isle of Wight in the holidays or weekends, and I'd often bring her on my own, and that's when it just I started to feel the freedom of East Dean, really, because at home, obviously being a runner, we had to watch out, and with traffic in particular. Traffic's the biggest one, isn't it? You're petrified of them running in front of a car all the time. Whereas here, I realised that she could run out of the house and run into the grounds and run into the forest, as she called it, our woodland, and play, and then she'd come back. Yeah. You know. So at first I'd be chasing her. At first you're there, oh my God, she's gone, I'm after her.
And your heart's in your mouth all the time.
Oh my God, all that heart in your mouth, yeah. And over a period of time I began to be quite comfortable that I could go into work. She'd say, I'm going to the forest, and I'd do a couple of hours work, and then she'd run in. No warning, no knocking on the door, none of that, just run in, didn't matter who I was with, what meeting I was in, jump onto my knee, and then she used to stroke her lip on my collar for a bit of comfort, and off she went again.
And we established that.
With her top, and it just became, well, this is great, and that's I suppose why we called it Freedom Families when we started doing this.
Yeah, because she must have loved having that freedom. Because being, like you said, being around busy roads, she probably just felt everyone was shadowing her all the time.
That's what she told me, because she's verbal.
Yeah.
We've been able to have some really good, mature conversations about it, which have helped me she's helped me loads to understand.
She's been your teacher.
Yeah. She's been my mentor. Yeah. In that respect, yeah.
So I think that's when you came up with I wonder if other families would benefit from this as well, didn't you? Yeah. So tell me
about that. We take school groups all the year round, and we have 180 kids in, 180 kids out, and then our English school parties only come during term times now. They used to come in the holidays. Of course, teachers, they need their time off now, bless them. So we would find ourselves with some empty gaps, and we found ourselves with 3 weeks empty in August, which is most, in the tourist industry, that's your prime time, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we thought, I wonder if it would work, wonder if anybody else would be interested. So we simply put a very short 3 or 4 lines into the National Autistic Society website saying, holidays available. I can't even remember the wording, to be honest. And we had 2 families that applied to come for what at the beginning we only did the 1 week, and
this was 13 years ago,
yeah,
wasn't it? Because it's been running for 13 years now,
yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah. No business model, no plan, no idea, you know, what would happen.
You were just coming from the heart, weren't you? It wasn't about business, it was from the heart.
Oh, definitely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's great, the two families couldn't have been more different, but because they had the one thing in common, they just gelled. They were completely different social backgrounds, different parts of the country. One was Welsh, one was from Essex, different interests, but they completely gelled because they both got each other as to what we were coping with. And
when they first arrived, could you see the tension and the shoulders were up to the ears?
Absolutely.
And were they doing what you'd done at first and were running after their kids and you were saying about the pool.
The first time, the first family, the single mum phoned us and said, you know, that Jake was a thrower as well as a runner, and we had to hide anything that could have been thrown, we thought. And so no wine glasses, no mugs, and you know, anything like that, anything valid. Not that we've got much that's valuable really, but everything was put away. But now, you know, as time's gone on, we don't need to do any of that, because the kids seem to sense the respect somehow. You know, they seem to know themselves what's okay and what's not until we start trying to restrain them. And that's the big bit. When I sometimes see families, you know, trying to, I don't mean restrain in that, you know, restraint thing, but just hold them back. Shadow them. That exactly right. Just keeping an eye on them, and the more they try and do that, the more the kids run, and the more the kids disappear. And then when it's any more than that, then they might pick something up and throw it, and they're basically saying, "Get off my back, give me some space, get off my back, give me 10 minutes or give me half an hour. You can have your free time. I won't mind." And
you're absolutely right. And these two families in that first ever week you done, one of them kept coming back for about 5 years, didn't they? And the other family is coming back every year for 13 years.
13 years, And we've seen that, but they had 3 boys, and their boys were, I don't know, but maybe say between 6 and 12. And of course, as they got older, 2 of the boys don't want to come anymore, and they just come with the one boy now. And and it's a bit of a tradition that we always take a picture of Tom, the dad. Within the first night, he's always sitting in the same armchair with a glass of red wine on the table next to him, and his head asleep.
Bless him.
And that's it's a tradition. First night he's always asleep within.
He feels completely relaxed here to be able to do that. That's amazing.
It is. I know. It's great. I think that was one of the very first photographs that I took of him. That I thought, we've got it right here for the parents now. And now it happens every year. So
so I've been coming here. This is my 2nd year.
Okay.
And you know, I met you last year, and when I first arrived with my child, and I tried all the holidays, fully inclusive abroad, self-catering abroad, even tried different staying in Great Britain, Cornwall, all of that. It was always a nightmare because Iggy's quite challenging. But I can remember the first day I arrived here, and Iggy, he ran off as usual, and I'm trying to get the dinners and everything, and I need eyes in the back of my head and everywhere, and I'm usually running after him, and my waist is a lot more streamlined then because I couldn't actually sit and eat a meal. And Iggy, I really felt that Iggy felt accepted and free. The moment he arrived, he just clocked straight into it. And the first 2 days I was like you, doing the running around and chasing him. And then all of a sudden, her mum said, it wasn't "Where's Wally?" It's "Where's Iggy?" And one of the other families said to me, "Don't worry, go and have your dinner. I'll watch him." And I just felt my shoulders. I was going to say that I felt my shoulders come down from my ears due to stress. My shoulders were always up to my ears. Due to a holiday guest coming into the podcast room, we moved to another room to continue with the podcast. Hello, Dee. We're back. So this podcast has been a bit of a fun one because we are here at Freedom Families.
And this is what it's all about.
And we've got all the lovely people coming and checking out what we're doing.
Yep.
This is real life. This is Freedom Families, and they're all walking around freely.
Not to mention my dog.
Yeah.
Not to mention Lewis, who's at the heart and soul that protects me from anyone that walks in and wants to see what's going on.
Yeah.
So sorry about the barking, but hey.
So where were we? So I was talking about my experience when I first arrived with my little boy Iggy, and how he loves it here, being so free, and how my anxiety really came down, and that was the first holiday experience with my child that I ever experienced that, and that was huge, which is hence why I'm here again.
There he goes again, sorry.
Which is why I'm here again. This is my second year, and I definitely will be coming every year now.
Oh, great.
And lots of the families who I met last year are also here, and some of them have been coming for 12 years, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. And I think the other thing that's lovely about it is that they've become personal friends, and they meet outside of here. And, for example, 2 of them were married this year, and, there were several Freedom families there at the wedding.
Yeah.
And that's lovely, isn't it, to know that you've done more than it's not just a holiday, it's like they've created lifetime friends that they can talk to, phone, speak to in between, share, meet up. It's great. Yeah,
because what's the amazing thing about this holiday place? I mean, we can talk forever. There's probably about 10 podcasts about Freedom families and the experiences that we all have here, is that we all understand each other, we all get each other, we all look out for each other, there's no judging each other, because we're all doing the best we can. Everyone helps each other out. If another child has had a meltdown, there'll be another parent there with a glass of wine for the parent.
Yes.
After the meltdown's complete.
Yeah. Oh no, during it sometimes.
And during,
because somebody else is helping. It's just. Yeah.
It's all hands on deck, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And one of the things I love nowadays too is that if somebody came in from outside, they wouldn't be able to know which family was which, because everybody intermingles, and so there are a lot of siblings here that are not autistic, and we got one thing particularly under the stairs. There's sort of like a chill out area under the stairs where they can take their games and play their games, and one of the parents said to me how great that was, because his autistic boy was sitting with a group of other boys and girls, and although they were playing their games, there was comradeship there. There was it was a community, so they weren't talking, but how much better it was than them just being in their bedrooms on their own individual one, which is what they do at home a lot, And there was a real feeling of, it's just kids being kids together. Yeah. And it was lovely.
And all the children all really look out for each other as well.
Yeah.
Because the siblings of children with ASD are a lot more empathetic, got more compassion, and they look out for
they see what's going to happen
for their brother or sister, and all the other children, and everyone's just in it together, aren't they?
Definitely.
The parents and the children. So let's talk about the swimming pool, because the swimming pool is amazing. Iggy won't let me into the pool, by the way, because he's living the freedom. So I take Iggy swimming every week back at home, which he enjoys as well. But because he's got this newfound autonomy and being free and feeling very grown up, every time he gets in the swimming pool, I'm like, I go to get in. He's like, no, mummy, you sit down. So I have to go in when Iggy's not in. So I still have my fun as well. But he loves that. He's loving the freedom.
That, I would say that's one of the most mind-blowing things for me is coming from a place where you're dealing with school kids all the time, and the health and safety and the lifeguarding and the safety talks you have to give and all this sort of thing. And then we come to Freedom Families, and when we first started doing this, everybody used to arrive absolutely, tense and whatever, and it's going to be even harder now. Got to be really attentive and watch them all, and make sure they've got their water wings on, and don't let their faces get wet because that will disturb them or whatever. And I remember at the beginning we were constantly, there'd be about 5 or 6 of us on duty, you know, with parents, and parents like leaning over the side holding the wrist of their child still. It was crazy. And, you know, bit by bit, like everything else, you find that actually when they go under the water, they're quite happy. Yeah. You know, and they come back up again when they're ready. Yeah. And my own experiences of children learning to swim underwater, not by learning breaststroke or learning whatever, just by being able to be free in the water and just be suspended in the water. It's not at the surface, but they hold their breath. And then they come up to the top, and it's like a snorkel. They just blow it out, and down they go again. And they don't. For me, they do the natural way to be in water, as opposed to the way we try and teach them. A bit like school, really, isn't it? You know, kids are really great and creative till we send them to school, but that's another story.
Because they love being underwater, because it's like a sensory break. It is for them. And you were saying earlier that you said it's kind of like going back into the womb. And how we see a lot of our children being under the water, and they do go into the fetal position, don't they?
Yeah. And we call it bobbing now. So we've noticed that it's particularly the more severely autistic ones. They will just slowly gravitate to the deep end not without us noticing, but that's what they want to do. And it's like they know they're doing that, and they know that they're pushing their luck to do that, as if you know, I've not been allowed to do this before, you know, someone's going to get me out, but if I go slowly they won't notice. And you know, I remember one year we had about 5 or 6 kids in the deep end, and they were just going down and coming up and going down for ages, and then coming up and then going down, and we just call it, they're bobbing again now. You know, we've got the bobbing going on, and it's great because they come up with big smiles on their face, and no anxiety, just relaxed, and the parents are relaxed. You know, you see the parents sitting on the side having a cup of coffee or reading the newspaper, and that to me is just amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing.
And there's lots of people who've learned how to swim here.
Yes,
as well, isn't there? Yeah. I can remember last year there was one boy here with his brother, and his brother could swim and he couldn't. And he was very, very nervous. And for 3 days, he was at the side of the pool, frog marching up and down. And every day he was saying, right, I'm going to get in today. And he didn't. And then the next day, I'm going to get in today. And he didn't. And then the 3rd day, he did get in. Yeah. By the end of that week, he was swimming.
Right, brilliant.
And that was amazing.
Yeah, brilliant.
Because he's learned, he's taught himself as well.
Exactly.
Because for self-esteem, that's just amazing for our kids as well. Because they're proud of themselves.
Yeah. I think one of the best things about East Dene is that none of us are professionals. You know, none of us are professional in any way. I mean, we're professional teachers, but not professional in any way with autistic needs or whatever. But we've learnt from the experience of watching the children themselves, and actually they've taught us. You know. And we might go on a course or read a book afterwards, and you do that. Right, that explains. And I love it that our seasonal tutors here, they usually find these weeks the most rewarding of the whole year.
And your staff are amazing. So you always have staff at the pool. That just get involved as well. I mean, they're watching all the kids, obviously, but they
engage with them, don't they?
They really engage. And we have noodle battles.
Oh yes.
And there's, the imaginative play, which is usually quite challenging for our children with ASD. Actually, all comes out in this swimming pool. Which is another amazing thing. And we've got to talk about your staff, the kitchen staff.
Okay.
Tell me about Bob.
Oh, Bob's great. Bob came here when we first started working here, before Freedom Families. He was a KP at another local hospital, another local hotel, and came along for a KP job here. And within a very short space of time, we realised he was talented, he got talent. Great bloke, smashing bloke, and he's been with us ever since and learnt on the job like the rest of us, really.
And the food here is amazing. And now that I don't have to run after Riggy, it's not good for my waistline. But I'm not complaining because I can sit down and eat a meal, and a really good one at that. And what's so brilliant about Bob as well is that for a lot of our children, they don't like their beans touching their chips, or they might just eat chicken nuggets, or they might. Some of them are very fussy, aren't they?
Oh, very. Oh, yeah.
And Bob caters for every individual child's needs.
Yeah.
So you were telling me that you had some training. You got a mum come in and tell him about.
Yeah, when we realised
that
that these holidays, there was a need for them. There's a mum in Ventnor, nearest town, whose son was autistic, and she was doing a lot of work to try and raise awareness of it. And so she came in and just spent about 2 or 3 hours with us, telling us just about Callum's needs, behaviour, and what she did for him. And it was so much better than going on a course. It was like the way we like to do things here is we're learning from real people, know, and not theory and jargon and all this, that and the other. I get it's one of my pet hates, really. Because we've been joking this week about how very often we're met with the expression, in my professional opinion, your child should, and would, and according to this textbook, they should be doing this, that and the other, and it's just, sometimes you think, oh, you don't get it. Yeah. So that's why I say we learned a lot from Callum in the first place, and then about food and about they always come to have the same table every year. If they want to bring their own plate from home, they can do that. If they want to bring their own water bottle from home, DVDs from home, anything that child has as a routine. We understand how important that is, whereas other people might think, oh, well, they're here now, they should do this and do that. No. I'll give a very good example of one time I came in and there was one girl having a meltdown by the front door, and her mum was really distraught about it. So we calmed her down and unpacked it, and then I said, well, what do you normally do in the morning? So she gets up, she comes down, has a breakfast, and then we go back and she gets changed and gets ready to go out. Well, because she thought she was with a hotel, she didn't want Jade to come down in her pyjamas like she would at home, so she got Jade dressed, came down, and then of course Jade wanted to go out. Because that was the next thing that happened. And so she was by the front door kicking off so I said, well, that's easy to solve. He comes down in pyjamas. Now half the families come down in pyjamas, or they come down, they take breakfast in bed, back up to their others. It's just like a home, really.
It really is.
That's what I want it to be. It's like being at home.
And that you're really honoured with creating that transition and understanding the transitions for our children can be usually really challenging. And most of the families have the same rooms each year, don't they? And that's wonderful. Yeah. You've thought of it all. It's great.
I think it's that trying to understand, and I'll be honest. I mean, as she's my goddaughter now. She's got older because she is she is verbal. She's been able to explain lots of things to me because she's able to tell me what's happening. What triggers her and what's and in particular the thing about the space. She said, I remember once I actually took a fireworks at Cowes, not any Needles, I think it was to a fireworks night with big crowds, and we were watching, and then suddenly she'd gone, and it was like, heart in mouth, heart in mouth, and I'm looking, thinking, at what point do I call the police, and all this sort of thing. Anyway, eventually I started to make my way back to the car, panic mode, and she turned up, and I said, where have you been? She said, well, I've just needed some space, it was all getting a bit much. And I said, but I didn't know where you were. And she said, yeah, but I knew where you were. And I thought, oh, really? Okay. So she just needed to get away, but she knew where I was, but if she wanted to come back. So that was a huge learning curve for me. So now if she disappears, or when she would disappear, I didn't worry. And the same with Lewis the dog, they know where you are. And that's quite a big thing, isn't it? Because we think we're always responsible. Well, we are responsible, but sometimes we worry when we don't need to.
And we must talk about some of the activities as well.
Oh, okay.
Because the activities you do here are fantastic, and everyone gets involved. I mean, Iggy's doing things here that he wouldn't usually get involved with.
Really? So which ones?
So he's doing all the cooking and the baking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he does like cooking and baking with me at home. But you do the campfires and the marshmallows on the campfire, the archery and things like that. And it's just a great thing to do for our kids, because giving them a chance to do the same things that mainstream neurotypical children are doing here is just wonderful.
Well, yesterday I was up at the campfire, bushcraft, and I was thinking, oh my goodness me, if health and safety or a head teacher or somebody in their professional opinion came to judge this now, they'd think, I don't know what they'd think. There were kids that were barefoot, there were kids that were flicking things around, it was just like a group of kids on holiday together. In the good old days, before everything was restrained, when
having
kids
an
used
adventure.
to having an adventure, no one got hurt.
Yeah.
They knew where to stand, where not to. Nobody was shouting, "Oh, be careful! Stand back! Do this, do that." It was just, it's just happening, and I loved it. Really loved it.
Oh, it's wonderful. So now you've got loads of families that are coming here and repeatedly coming here as well. That must make you feel really good about yourself, and quite rightly so, because
I mean,
this is an amazing experience that you're allowing families like us that usually struggle on holiday. And it's wonderful. It really is.
I just feel now that it's I don't do anything anymore, because it all just happens now, and I'm just it just happens.
But you're always there, and you are. It's like one big family, isn't it?
Yeah. I took a photograph of me with little Catherine's little baby yesterday.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm sort of like the oldest with the youngest, and it was quite sweet.
So Catherine, she's been coming here as a service user.
Yeah.
Since how old was Catherine when
she was a young girl, and with her own autistic problems, and they must have been coming about 10 years or so now.
Yeah.
And now
she's bringing her baby.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely wonderful, isn't it?
It is.
So something that you were really aware of as well is that it was all about the kids at first, wasn't it? But now it's all about the parents as well, isn't it? And you're really passionate about that, aren't
Absolutely,
you? So we have ladies' night.
Yes, yeah.
Because, being a parent of a child with additional needs, we don't go out anymore.
You don't have a social life, do you?
We don't, no. And so everyone looks after the kids, the adults and the staff, and we have like a few hours out in a pub, just 5 minutes up the road. Yeah,
which other people just take so for granted.
Yeah.
I think, and I know how much it means to you guys to be able to do that. So everybody don't get, and the men have to step up. That's also quite good, take their responsibility for the evening, and different ones will look after others. As long as there's somebody designated to be responsible for each child should they wake up or something. And I think it's great, and you can just go and you can just relax and usually have a big laugh, I think, don't you?
Yeah. It's brilliant.
It's a laugh more than the deep, meaningful discussions. You have those
we have
individually.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then there's a man's night as well.
Yeah, the next night. It's a men's night out.
Yeah. And you know what our men are like. Sometimes it takes them a while to connect with other men.
Yes.
That's a man thing.
Yeah, it is.
But actually... They all get on really well, and they all bond on this man's night, and then they all come back every year, and the men also feel like they have got a connection. Yeah. And sometimes that's really difficult for men.
Yes, male contact. Yeah, it is actually.
It is, but here, it's
I think people like the tradition as well. Because sometimes I think, are they going to get bored with the same thing every year, But it isn't. We put different little things in, try and add something new each year, and a new idea.
So today is the slip and slide.
Oh, yes. Oh.
So just to explain what the slip and slide is to anyone listening to this podcast, is it's like a load of black bin bags, really, down the hill. So it's like a big massive slide that has got loads of washing up liquids and loads of soap, and then there's a load of inflatables like unicorns and pink flamingos, buck and broncos, you name it, it's there, rubber rings, and not just the kids,
no,
but the adults too. Just run and go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and it's such a simple thing, really.
Yeah, and so through the week, all the kids are saying, it's going to be the slip and slide.
Really?
It's going to be the slip and slide. I can't wait to get the slip and slide. I'm going to have the pink flamingo this year, and you're going to have the unicorn this year.
Right, yeah,
And they can't because the unicorn's mine. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we all love it.
Yeah.
And it's just great. We love it here too.
Yeah. Oh, it's so nice to hear you say it. It's nice to be able to talk about it, really, and just reflect on, what it does mean to people.
It really means a lot. I mean, people coming back for 12 years, that says it all, doesn't it?
It does, it does. Yeah, it's good to hear.
So thank you, Dee. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Oh,
I'll see you on the slip and slide.
Yeah, I'll be there. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If any families are interested in knowing more about Freedom Family Holidays in the Isle of Wight, or would like to book a place for your family holiday, you can contact Dee on 01 202 555 358 or email Dee. Her email is denia.wright@allnatt.co.uk. That is lowercase DENEIGHT@allnatt.co.uk. If anybody would like to learn more about this wonderful holiday experience with Freedom Families on the Isle of Wight, please contact Susan Armstrong on 01 983 852 374. Susan deals with all the admin side and the bookings for the Freedom Families, and her email is susan.armstrong@allnatt.co.uk, and I'll spell that out for you. SUSAN.ARMSTRONG@ALLNATT.co.uk. And I might see you there. Bye. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. To find out more about what I do, visit www.specialworldtraining.com and follow us on our Facebook page, Special World Training. I believe knowledge is power and strength is in numbers. And if more people get involved in our special world, we can all make our world a better place. Join me next week for more amazing stories from the good, the bad, and the ugly.